Welcome to the LA Home Show. I am your host, Natasha Phillips, and today we have with us real estate agent Nesta Aguilar. Nesta, we're so happy to have you with us.
I'm very excited to be here. It truly is an honor. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. So, Nesta, I'd love to know how you got into real estate.
You know, it's an interesting question because I was actually in the banking industry for 10 years prior to getting into real estate, and it was my dream. Yeah, growing up as a kid, watching TV, and you know, I would see these guys in New York wearing suits, you know, carrying around the briefcase in Times Square, you know, and I would always say, when I grow up, I want to be dressed up in a suit. Whatever it is, I'm gonna wear a suit. And I got into the banking industry, and I was there for 10 years. My last position there, I was managing an office in Woodland Hills, California. And one day I just felt like I needed to do something different. I've always been a driver type of person and building relationships and just taking risks. So it got to one point where I said, I need to do something different. And watching all these TV shows, $1 Million Listing, seeing all these guys making so much money, I said, maybe I should do this. So I took the biggest risk I ever have in my life with a family and everything, with a decent salary. And I quit the bank. I just walked out, dropped my keys, and I said, I'm done. I cannot do this anymore. And I remember walking out that day, sitting in my car, and I panicked. And I said, what did I just do? So I already had thoughts of getting my license in real estate. I hadn't even started, mind you. Yeah. And so I went and I said, well, I need to do something about it and get on top of this. I took this crash course program. 3 months later, here I am, a licensed real estate professional. And I remember talking to so many different real estate agents. I had no idea where to go. And that's how my journey started.
That sounds amazing, and it's been a great journey for you.
It truly has.
So it sounds like you're really passionate about this and that you love real estate. So how do you keep that passion alive?
You know what? One of the things that someone told me once is, you always got to keep yourself motivated. And how do I do that? And one of my biggest motivations is my family, you know, and I always keep that in the back of my hand. And I say, what is the purpose and why am I doing this? Why do I want to be successful, and why do I want to help people, and why do I want to do real estate? And I always think of what was the reason why I took that risk, right? And I always was told to get into coaching. Number one thing, my first thing that I did was I hired a coach. It was expensive, but I was told, you must do this, because being a real estate professional is not just being a freelancer. It's not just doing it part-time, but I look at it as my business. I am the CEO of my own company. You know, no one's gonna support me but myself, and I have to do something about it. So every morning, every day, I remember what is my purpose, and that keeps me going every day.
That's great. That's really good advice. So on that note, do you have advice for new agents coming into real estate? Yeah,
absolutely. You have to be willing to take risks and don't overthink things. In my office, I'm in Encino at Keller Williams, and I'm actually one of the mentors for a program, a leadership program. And I've helped a few agents since I started in the business and sat down with them. And one thing I always tell them is, don't overthink things. You must always go above and beyond, because the way you set the bar is gonna be your limit. So if you set your bar low, that's how far you're gonna get. So any agent out there, if you already took this risk, there's no such thing as a part-time agent. If you're gonna be a full-time agent, you're gonna be a CEO, because this is your business. So you're gonna go and really do everything it takes to build a successful business and build relationships.
So over your career, do you have one property that stands out that you find is like most exciting or most interesting that you've worked on?
Actually, I recently listed what's called the famous Pulp Fiction house. And if you haven't seen the film, and I have a video series that I started that's called Premier Property Listings, and it's on YouTube. So I feature this property, and the screenwriter and director is Quentin Tarantino. And you have John Travolta, Samuel Jackson in the film. And it was a really exciting project. And you know, you have so much history walking through that property, and I don't know if you've seen the film or anybody have seen it, but it's a great film. It's one of the best films out there that I've seen. It was filmed in the early 90s, And it's in Studio City in a really unique pocket and really high desirable area. It's called Colfax Meadows. And you have very high-end schools there. You have the Carpenter School District, really nice shop, really great family neighborhood. And I think this is one of the most exciting properties I've listed yet.
That does sound like fun. It was one of my favorite movies.
It is great. It is.
So what recommendations do you have for first-time buyers?
So first-time buyers, one of the main things is that you really have to be able to trust in your agent. I mostly work with sellers and I list properties, but the number one recommendation, if I have a client who's hired me to sell their property and look for something else, is really, number one, trust in me. Because at the end of the day, we're the ones who sit there and really watch the market of what's happening, and a lot of times being a first-time buyer, it's a very big jump. It's a very big milestone in your life. So I can always say is really sit down with the right agent, do your research and find the right one. I would say hire me and really be able to have an open mind and see what's out there. Make a list. What are you looking for specifically? What area? What school district? And at the end of the day, it's really going to take the right agent to help you negotiate the best deal so you can be happy and your family can be in the perfect home.
Sounds great. So you mentioned there that you were watching the market. So do you think that the market has changed?
A lot of people, it's the popular talk right now.
Yeah.
And I don't like to refer to it as a dropping market. It's really, I refer to it as the market is normalizing. Because obviously during the summertime, a few months back, every property that I was listing and selling, we were going into multiple offers in a week or 2 weeks. And right now that the market has changed a bit, I like to call it normalizing, because we're going back to a normal market. And this is really where the superstar real estate agents are going to stand out, because it's easy to list a home, put it out there, and just wait for someone to show up. And really, when it comes to selling a home in a market like this, it requires an agent who has top-of-the-line marketing and gets the best exposure so you can still get the most money for your home.
So do you think it's just seasonal and by summer we'll be back to where we were?
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't, I can't determine the future, but definitely there's going to be changes, and you would have to really stay on top of that and watch what's happening. Obviously, interest rates have changed. They've gone up slightly, but it's still considered a seller's market now. So I guess just really focus on what's happening now and not what's going to happen then.
So as a seller, they come to you and they want to work with you. Walk me through the steps of how that would look.
So number one, the first meeting is obviously the most important conversation is price. In any market, in order for you to list a home, it has to be properly priced. So my job as a listing agent is to really educate my sellers and really show them what the market value is. Because as a homeowner, you can definitely have a different perspective of what your home could be worth. But at the end of the day, it's not what we feel, it's what the market is telling us. So if we sit there and really think about, the memories that we've created, and if we're attached, it's a very difficult conversation to have. But at the end of the day, if I bring value, to my clients who hire me to do so, then that's all that matters. Because if I bring value, they're going to trust in my word. So number one is educate. What does a market look like? Number two is, what am I going to do differently than the other realtors out there are doing to be able to sell their home and market it properly? One of the great examples is my newest video series that I started, Premier Property Listings. We really go above and beyond when it comes to social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Everything right now is turning to technology. Everything. If you go to a fast food restaurant, McDonald's for example, when you want to order something, you go to a kiosk. When you go to a bank, you go to a kiosk. It's all technology based. And a lot of agents are not really watching out for that. So that's one of the main focuses now, is to be able to really give the right exposure and bring the right people to be able to get the most offers possible on our properties.
Sounds good. So what kind of marketing do you offer your sellers? Because you're talking a lot about marketing. I wanted to find a little bit more about that.
Sure, that's a great question. So besides the video series, anybody can take pictures professional pictures and do a professional video, right? And really at the end of the day, we call it sweat equity. So what do we do is really we get out there. We want to make sure that the neighbors know. We want to make sure that the other neighbors know. We want to make sure that their friends know that that property is for sale. Because it's not just putting a property up and waiting for someone to show up. And that's what I tell my sellers all the time. The moment we throw an open house, it's not just any open house. We call it a mega open house. We make an event out of it. We bring food trucks. We invite as many people possible. We create an event on social media, Facebook, Instagram. We boost it out to as much audience possible. And we're able to target through that and find that one perfect buyer for that home. It takes an art to sell real estate. Not anybody can do it properly, but it really takes an art.
It sounds like it, and it sounds like you've got that down to a fine art.
Still working on some, little details.
So as my final question, and I like to ask everybody this, what are you most excited about right now? It could be life, personal, or both.
I'm excited for what's to come, because from 1 year ago to today, my life has changed drastically. And it's because of the decisions I made in my business. And to see my family enjoy the things that they weren't able to enjoy, back in the days, to see now, the fruits of my labor, that's what I'm excited about. To see my family happy and to really, be able to take advantage of the things that I've been able to work hard for. And that's today.
That sounds awesome. Well, Nestor, thank you so much for being with us. And thank you so much for watching LA Home, where we discuss all things real estate, interior design, and much, much more.